Hello Gardeners World, I'm Trevor.
And I'm June.
And welcome to our garden in North Yorkshire.
When we first moved in here, we didn't have any flower borders at all, so we set about digging out lawn and creating flower beds. And this is the longest one. My wife single-handedly dug this. It's about 35 metres long by 4 metres wide, and that was most of the work in the very first winter. My wife did it all. And then we rotated in lots of farmyard manure and then started the nice bit of planting the perennials. And during May and into early June, the stars of the border have been the lupins, but they're starting to go over now. But the catmint's coming through, and the bees, the bumblebees, are absolutely loving that. We've got the opium poppies there as well. And then as we go into summer, some of my favourite plants are the daisies, like osteospermum, argyranthemum, helenium, helianthus, the annual sunflowers and the perennial sunflowers, also achillea, and the salvias, the blue spikes of the salvias, just to punctuate the yellows. So we've got all that to look forward to.
We don't have any pets, but what we do have is our little friend here called Matilda that keeps the lawn nice and tidy. If any are fans of a certain TV programme that involved robots, you might recognise the name Matilda. I'm lucky enough to have a greenhouse, a small polytunnel and also a large polytunnel. The small polytunnel came with the house, but the large polytunnel I actually brought with us from our previous house, so we'll have a look in those. In the small glass house I made a heated propagator. I've got soil warming cables in there and insulation and then wet sand, and I've propagated all sorts this year, so tomatoes and squash, cucumbers, and here's some of the bedding plants. There's some peppers here, cosmos. It's been really cold lately, so I actually switched the heating back on fairly recently. It had been switched off, but we've had daytime temperatures of around 11 or 12 degrees here on Yorkshire's east coast. It can be quite cold. But just here we've got a grapevine, and it's warmed by this wall behind it, and that really holds the heat, and I think you can see the grapes there starting to develop already. Right, well, we're in the small polytunnel now, and in here I grow early potatoes. Now normally I'll plant these around about the end of February and be harvesting them in early May. This year I was a little bit late. It was the end of March, and so now in the second week of June I'm going to just have a go and see what we get. So these are a variety called Rocket. That's not a bad size, is it, for a new potato? There's another one. Some more. I defy anyone to dig up potatoes without putting the fork through, but I seem to have got away with it. Yeah. I think that's it. There's another one. There you go. I got the fork through that one. So there we are. I think they're a decent size for first early new potatoes. Let's say Sweet Rocket, and harvesting them in the start of the first week of June. So this is the large polytunnel. It's 25 foot long by 14 foot wide. We brought this with us from our last property. One thing I've done in recent years, I could never get tomatoes ready before about mid-August. But I discovered growing a bush variety which I'd never grown before in 55 years of growing tomatoes, and I quite like this because being a lazy gardener, cut down on work, I don't have to remove the side shoots. Now, growing them in hanging baskets here, they actually ripen about 2 months earlier than they would planted in the soil. But down in the soil I have some of the traditional cordon varieties such as Shirley. I've got lettuce, French beans down there as well, and there's some some squash as well. Butternut squash, and I'm even trying for the first time growing strawberries in hanging baskets to bring them on a little bit earlier. The ones outside will definitely be at least 2 more weeks, but you can see that one just about ready. Delicious.
Well, not so much a wildflower meadow as a yellow rattle meadow, really. If you've looked into creating a wildflower meadow, you'll know the importance of this plant, yellow rattle, a wild British native plant which parasitises on the roots of grass. Doesn't actually kill it, but it slows it up enough to let other wildflowers to get established. So it's a must-have plant for a wildflower meadow. And we've got a great swathe of almost pure yellow rattle here underneath a plum tree and a very old apple tree. And the idea is we're bulking up the seed, and then we'll be using that seed to create, I think, 2 or 3 other small wildflower meadows in other parts of the garden. Hope you enjoyed that tour around our garden. Bye.
Bye.